What we're doing today is I'm going to install this fountain in the flower bed behind us here. If you've been watching the channel, you've probably seen this fountain before. It was given to me by my across the street neighbor. He moved out of town and he said, "Do you want it? It needs some restoration." I said, "Yeah." So the wife did a great job spray painting it and I had to buy some pumps and some light. I'll try to leave a product link down in the description below if you need lights or pumps for a fountain. We're going to be installing this on low voltage electricity. So I have outdoor lighting here and we're going to install it on that same system. So I'm going to walk you through how to install the wires, how to hook your wires up to the clock, how we level the fountain. We'll put some water in it and then we'll let her run. Let's get started. So we've got what I call a screed board, what's known as a screed board. This is just a 1x4, you can use a 2x4. You just need a piece of lumber. And you need a level. And so right now, that board is dead level, but I don't know if you can see on camera here, there's a void. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in some fill dirt. We're going to get this more or less level. So I'm throwing some fill dirt. I'm going to take my screed board, run the screed across it back and forth like this, get it level. We'll put the bubble level on it just to confirm, and then we can move our fountain. So all I'm really looking to do here is take the high parts and knock them down into the low parts. That's the easiest way to level a piece of ground. All I'm going to do, I'm going to take my screed, I'll lay it down here. I still may need a little more fill. Alright, so I'm level there. So what I can do, there's a little high spot right here, is just run my screed back and forth across this. And this is kind of how they get concrete level too. They just run a big screed across the top of it. So it's the same concept if you've ever put down concrete. It's taken from the high spot, going to the low. And I'm just going to go across where I just smooth that out and put my bubble level on it. That's perfect right there. We're going to check the midsection. Bubble's dead in the middle. I'm going to check out here out front. Alright, so I'm a smidge high on my left. So we're going to take our shovel and move some of this over. And there's some pea gravel mixed in here, but that's okay. It serves the same purpose. We're just building a base, and this part doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, because once we get our fountain in here, we're going to put the bubble level on top of it and we can kind of lean on it left or right just to get it finalized. You just don't want the bubble all the way on one side or all the way on the other side, and that's really, really close. I'm satisfied with this. So let's move the fountain over here and we'll level out the fountain. I got a little bit ahead of myself, so before we move the fountain to get it level, I want to show you how we ran the wires. You need to go ahead and run the wires before you get this set for your pumps and for your lights as well. I tried to do a point of view video, it didn't work, so what I'm going to do is just turn the camera around here and walk you through a few things. So you've got a series of wires starting at the base. So there's a tube that runs up through here, and so this goes to a fountain. Or excuse me, this goes to a pump. There's two pumps with this fountain. This goes to a pump. And then there's two sets of lights as well. So I've got two wires here. This goes to one set of lights, this goes to the other. So where do these go to? So that tube continues to run up through here. And one set of lights is here in the bottom bowl. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's a tube that continues to run up through here into the top. and you get a light here and a light here. So one set of wires runs out through the bottom tube out this little hole here. So we've got light wires. There's our light wires right there running out to these lights. The other set runs out through the top here to these two lights. Okay, so there's a tube down there that you run it up through. Same for the pump. So these are the pumps that we're using. So these are Fountain Pro pumps. I got these online. Here again, I'll try to leave a link down in the description below for these. And I believe these run on 1/2-inch poly tubes, so I had to get these at Lowe's. So the poly tubes, I think, are 1/2-inch. So one of those poly tubes runs to, there's a top that goes right here. I've got to install it, and it flows water out here. But if you look further down, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4. These are little 1/4-inch tubes down here. So right, I got my finger on it right there. There's a 1/4-inch tube. Those go to these lion's heads. There's 4 lion's heads here. And these will spew out water as well. So you have water spewing out here. You have water spewing out at the top. So you go from here again. There's a tube in the bottom. All your wires go through that bottom tube. Half of them will go here. So you've got a lighting wire here, and then you've got your 2 wires for your pumps that'll in here. The last wire will run up this tube, and it's for these 2 lights here. So that's how the wiring works on the fountain. So the next thing that I want to do is to make sure that we're level. So we've moved our fountain in place. I have my wires where I want them. Most fountains will have a little arch-shaped gouge in the base where you run your wires through. So check your fountain for that. Make sure you run your wires through there. It prevents your wires from getting crimped. Once you put water in here, it gets very heavy, and the last thing you want to do is for the bottom of your fountain to cut your wires. So there should be a small arch where you can run your wires through. But to get your fountain level, put a board across it, take your bubble level, and just lay it down. And we look pretty good. So we're good. And so the frame of reference for you guys would be across the screen. But we also want to make sure that we're level this way, because if we're not level, the water is going to look funny coming out of the top of the fountain. It'll all go to one side or the other side, and we want the water to be equal going across all sides of the fountain. So we're going to turn our board 90 degrees. And here again, we're pretty good. So just like with a lot of landscape projects, 80% of the work's the prep. We prepped our ground properly earlier. Really all I had to do on this was, once I had it in place, just kind of lean on it a little bit, and it went right in dead level. So I'm really pleased with how we got this set up level. Let's go into how the wires coming out of our fountain are going to hook in to our clock. Turn the camera around and we'll do a point of view. I think it'd be easier to film it this way. But what we're using here, this is landscape wire lighting, and I'm using 12-2. I'm using a broader or a thicker wire. I'm using a 12. You could use 14, 16, but the higher the gauge wire, the more current we can flow through it over any given period of time. And so I went to Lowe's, and this is the largest gauge that they had, so I got it. I would encourage you to get a larger gauge wire as well, because it does take a fair amount of current to run these pumps, because we're moving water, and water's heavy. So it's 2-strand, 12 gauge. Since we're running this wire through nothing but flower beds, all we have to do is rake back our mulch, and we're just gonna lay this wire straight on the ground. We can do this because it's low voltage wiring. This is 12 to 15 volt wiring. If you were running, say 110 current, you couldn't do this. Check your local code for how you need to do that. Most areas, you got to bury at 12 inches. Some areas would require that it be in gray conduit. But here again, if you're running on high voltage, check your local code. But for low voltage wiring, you can lay it right on the ground. If we were running through a turf area where people were going to be walking and I was going to be running the mower and things like that, all I would do is take a shovel and make a little V-notch in the ground, run my wire through there, and then once I got to a flower bed, we could lay it back up on top of the ground again. So I'm just going to go through here, rake this out, lay my wire down, and we'll look at how it goes into the clock. Transformer in here, discreetly located behind some shrubs in here with my heat pumps. So this is what we're going to hook into. I wanted to do a point of view video with it. It's just too cramped of a quarters here to do it. So I'm going to show you what you need to do, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. But this is I believe a 500 watt transformer. So it puts out 500 watts at 15 volts. It's really 250 watt times 2. Let me show you what I mean. So where the wires hook in at the bottom, I'm trying to get the camera where you guys can see this. There's ports. So I've already got a set of outdoor lighting wires hooked into this. So we just ran a new strand of wire. And what's going to happen is we've got to take a Phillips head screwdriver, unscrew this port, unscrew this port. And it doesn't matter which wire goes into which because we had everything correct on the pump end. All we got to do now is just plug and play. So I'm going to unscrew these. I'm going to run my wire through this loop. This loop holds the wires up so the tension's not on the screws, it's on this plastic ring right here. I'll run my wire through there, and then we're just going to screw the wires down into there. So this is what it looks like once we've got it all set. So we've got our wire coming through, it goes through the ring here, and then we've got a wire here and a wire here that we have now successfully put into the transformer. So there's several different ways that you can wire up your pump for your outdoor lights as well as to function the pump. What I have here in my right hand, this is the lead wire that's coming from the clock. I've already stripped it out. And the method that we're going to use is called the hub method. So what I'm going to do is these two lead wires that come from the clock, I'm going to tie everything into here. I'm going to have a set of wires that go off of this that go to lights. I'm going to have a set of wires that go off of this that goes to pumps. And the same for this one. We'll have a set of wires that goes to lights and a set that goes to pumps. So I've got extra outdoor lighting wire here. And all I'm going to do is cut off a foot or so. So take your wire strippers and cutters, cut off a piece, and then we just need to strip. So I'm going to cut that in half. Pull that back a little bit, gives me some room to work with. We'll strip this side. We'll strip the other side. And we're going to do the same thing to this side. Okay, so now we have our two pigtails here. So what are we going to do with these? So this wiring, and different brands of wire will have different ways that they mark things. Some will have a smooth side and some will have ruffles. This wire, instead of having a smooth side and a ruffled side, has lettering. I hope that shows up on the camera right there. I hope the sun's catching that. It's got embedded lettering. So these two little pigtails we just made, I'm going to find the embedded lettering side on these. There's one there. So we're going to twist those together. And on this one, do the same thing. So all of the lettering is together. And here again, you may have black and white wire or ruffled and non-ruffled. Then we're going to put a wire nut on it. So we're going to put that wire nut on just like that till it crimps on. And that's a big wire nut because here again, we're using really big wires. These are going to be Drycon. They have wax in them to help keep the water out. These are 14/6s. And we're going to do the same thing to the smooth side. All right, so what did this do for us? We went from one hot, one negative to 2 of each. And so what this is going to allow me to do is have a separate wire for the lights and a separate wire for the pump. So now what we got to do is hook up the lights and the pumps. And so the pump wires come with red or blue. So there's 2 pumps in here. One goes to the top of the fountain and one goes to the lion's heads. I'm going to take these blues, twist them together. If I can hold on to it. I've got wax on my fingers from putting those wire nuts on. Got wax on the wire, makes it a little slick. And we're going to wrap these reds together. So that's important. We don't want to cross the colors up. Blue to blue, red to red. Now what I'm going to do, it really doesn't matter which one you put it to, as long as the reds and the blues are together. So we'll just take this one, we'll wrap it together. We'll take this one, we'll wrap it together. And for these, we don't need as big a wire nut. I'm going to use these. So these are, same thing, they're wax nuts. They got grease in them. These are 22/8. Don't need a big a nut because the wires going to the pumps aren't quite as big. So we'll take 2 of these and we'll put one on the red or the hot, whatever you want to call it. Just keep the colors the same. And we'll screw that down. All right, I felt that catch, and then we'll do the same for the blue or the common, whichever you want to call it. So now our fountains are plugged in. They're ready to go. We can operate those. So I'm going to lay that there. Now we got this wire. These will go to the lights. Now on the light wire, it's a little different. They're tangled up. Got to get them untangled here. I don't know if you can see this or not, but one, it's not a red-blue. One has white lettering, the other one does not. So I'm going to take the white lettering off of one set of pumps, white lettering from the other set of pumps. And twist those together. And these are tinier, I said pumps, I meant to say lights. So the white wire, white lettering wire from one set of lights, white lettering wire from the other set. Twist those together. That leaves us with one set of wires. And we're going to twist those together. And we're going to have one pigtail coming off the lead. And so we'll twist. And here again, coming off the lead, it doesn't matter which side goes to which. Just as long as you get those two coming off the lights correct. We'll go there, we'll go there. We need a grease nut for each. And we should be good to go. So we'll put that one on there. We'll put this one on here. And we are wired in. So now what we're going to do, we're going to walk over to the clock and we're going to turn it on and see what we have. Moment of truth with you guys. We're gonna see how good I was wiring this up. It's over here beside the heat pump that's running right now. I already have my clock set for manual on. See right here, hope that red shows up. So I just need to hit the down button, that's all. Hit the up button's on. It's on right now, let's go check it out. And we have water, and it looks pretty good. So let's go take a look. This looks really, really good. I like what I'm seeing here. I'm nice and balanced with my water distribution out the top. I may move it just a smidgen to the right. There's no water here, and there's a little bit more on this side. So, but other than that, it's looking pretty good. Let's talk about what I'm doing next. Obviously, I'm gonna clean this area up. I'm gonna take this the rest of this pea gravel out, and I'm going to plant this area with perennials. So this will sit in the middle of a perennial bed. I'm gonna come back out here at night so you can see it all lit up. I think it'll look really good. So hang with me here one sec and we'll look at it at night. So this is the finished product at night. I think it turned out really well. So you can see the lights down there at the bottom. Lights in the top, and there's the water coming out the top, and then we have the water coming out of the lion's mouth. So it looks really good. Guys, as always, thank you for watching The Plant Doctor, and until next time, happy gardening.